Okay, so we're back. So now that I've had that discussion about prefabs, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete all these lights. There's no reason for them to be there. Why do I have so many lights? Oh yeah, okay, up here. Gotcha. And since we just made that one too far in, I'm just going to go back and take this back to default. So I'm going to revert. I don't know what happened there. Screwed that up somehow. Okay, so take that there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just reset everything and change it back to a spotlight, and then I'm going to come over here and then I'm just going to line this back up on the top. That's the fastest way to go about it. It's going to be a little bit boring, but I would much rather you see the tedious process and not give unrealistic expectations in terms of how long this should actually take. So now that I have this here, I have my prefab set up. You can tell again by the blue name, and the fact that when I click on it, I actually have the word prefab here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate it and eyeball everything up on top. That's the fastest way to go about it. Most rooms are set up into some sort of grid, which is fine. But in this case here, since there's not a whole lot to do, it can get pretty crazy. So I'm not doing a whole lot with these other windows. And what I would like to do is I would like to do some work in here without having to worry a whole lot about moving around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just making my work area bigger, as you just saw there. I'm kind of zooming in on that. I'm having a problem right now because I'm having an issue seeing through where these things should actually be going. So if I go over here to gizmos up in my top corner, I can knock down those icons a little bit. They're still there, and they're still giving off the same sizes because all the sizes are based off of here. And what we want, the thing that we just want to be sure that's happening, is that I can tell where everything is set up. So again, I'm just doing Command or Control D, and I'm just moving these guys into position. I'm doing it from the top, and right now, again, this will be the fastest way to kind of get these set up. You yourself might have a different way of doing it, but for right now, as you can see, it's pretty much allowing me to place lights as fast and as quick as I want to. We'll worry about the left or right scene in a second, but for right now, all we really want to do is just make sure the lights are lined up the way we want them to be. If you know how to code, you might want to ask me about how you can code to place a light within a certain area, but that's really outside the scope here. So again, just kind of placing them out. If they were set up in a row, it would go pretty fast. But since these lights are all set up, what appears to be random, I'm pretty sure they're not though. But we're just kind of moving along. This is probably one of the reasons why when we first worked up this assignment, we would much rather prefer that you work with a small room as opposed to your whole scene. Okay, it looks like I got everything. That's a lot of lights. But it looks like I got as much as I could. This hierarchy scene has gotten really long. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here and just make a new game object. And I'm going to create an empty game object. It's right here. It made a new game object, but it's empty. There's nothing inside of it, much like how those lights were set up. And then if I were to come over here, F2 for rename or Command R for rename, I'm just going to call this lights. And I'm just going to take all the lights that I have, I'm going to drag them into that. What that's going to do, it's going to make sure I can keep my scene nice and clean. So right there. And so now I have one folder for all my lights. And that's how long it should take to actually drop those in. Right now, though, as you are probably as concerned as you should be, this is only from the top. So the next thing we have to do is go to the side view and make sure that all these guys kind of line up from the side. So what I'm doing now is I'm zooming in a little bit, making sure that there's nothing here set up. So down's where that one's going. And since we eyeballed them, we could probably want to kind of eyeball them back. And pretty much what's happening is how this is set up. If there's one there, there's probably one up top, as you can see there. Looks like I have two for some reason, or there's one higher above it. Nope. So what I'm going to do is take these guys and just bring them up. And again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball what I have here. And there's no real reason to why I'm doing this. A lot of it's just a type of guesswork. It looks like there is a small issue to where I am making some sort of lighting decision. But things aren't really working out. Or they're there. The biggest thing is just kind of figure out where these things actually go. There's probably a better way to do this. We probably should have did the side first, now that I'm thinking about it. But either way, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to guess since there's nothing above on that second floor, I'm just going to leave those here. But as you see, we're just doing this quick. There will always be time to refine it a little bit later. I'm a big proponent of working in passes. So getting these lined up, or getting these lined up better, takes priority over getting them perfectly lined up. There'll be times when you'll be working on a scene, and your director or your whoever's in charge of the project will tell you that it's done and and you shouldn't be doing any more work on it. And it's done and you need to pack it up and get ready to ship out to the client. And if you worry about making one light perfect, you won't have I don't know why that's doing things different. But anyways, you won't have the time to finish up the whole scene the way you should be. It looks like I had two there when I didn't have to have two. Is there a light there? Let's line that up. Okay, so that works from another side. So I'm going to go to the other view and see how those line up. Actually, since I lined up two sides, what I probably want to do now is do an orthographic view and just kind of come in. And you can see how we were able to get this done so fast. One of the things that we should be careful of is it would have been way faster if we had 3D objects to copy and paste into. But sometimes that may not always be the case. And they look like a bunch of school of octopi. I find that humorous. Slightly. So now you can see I'm just looking at it at different angles and making sure they line up a bit better. Because again, the whole point is just to get them in place. There will always be time to get it perfect. And that's not the best thing to say to students because you guys are pretty busy. But when it comes to the workplace, if you don't work in passes and someone tells you you need to pack it up and you've only finished one light out of 50, it can get kind of embarrassing. That's happened to me a couple of times. I learned that lesson pretty fast. So I'll take that and drop it over here. So again, we're just kind of eyeballing it. We'll have all the time in the world to kind of get it fixed. And so, again, it's a little sloppy, but at the same time, I got these in pretty quick, under 10 minutes. So depending on how you have your room set up and the types you're using, again, don't worry about it being a spotlight or a point light, because just like how I taught you earlier, you can come in and change the type to anything within a couple of seconds just by swapping out the type. So that's how we were able to get all the lights set up in under about, looks like 10 minutes. Hopefully this will help you out. And the next thing that we're going to do is make sure that the lights are affecting us where they should be. We want the lightings to be set up the way we really want them to. Because right now, we just place the lights. We don't even know what the lights look like inside the spaces. So, alright, we'll see you on the next one.